"I thought, you might like a little company," he called softly, his voice barely carrying over the howl of the blizzard. "And maybe, a few surprises." She froze, startled by the sound, snowflakes clinging to her eyelashes. Stepping cautiously onto the snowy path, her baby pink coat brushing the untouched powder, she saw him standing there, framed by the faint glow of her cabin's windows. In his hands, a wooden crate of gifts, each neatly wrapped, glinting faintly in the soft light. Her heart skipped a beat. The snow whipped around them, fierce and relentless, yet somehow, with him there, it felt as if the storm had shrunk to a private bubble around just the two of them. The cold bit at her cheeks, but it was nothing compared to the warmth spreading through her chest at the sight of him. I didn't expect anyone," she whispered, her voice trembling, both from the chill and the sudden surge of emotions she couldn't name. He offered the crate toward her, snow dusting the top of his dark coat. "Neither did I," he admitted, his voice softening as his gaze lingered on hers. "But some things are worth braving the storm for." Her fingers brushed his as she accepted the first gift, and a spark passed between them, subtle, electric, impossible to ignore. Her eyes lingered on his, searching for something she couldn't put into words. And in that look, she felt a connection forming, fragile yet undeniable, like the first fragile rays of sunrise through a winter fog. "Open it," he said, stepping just a little closer, careful not to overstep, letting the snow fall around them like a private curtain of white. "I promise it's worth the cold." Her breath caught as she untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside lay a delicate silver pendant, shaped like a snowflake, catching the faint glow of the cabin lights. She held it up, eyes wide. "It's beautiful," she murmured, unable to hide the awe in her voice. He smiled, a subtle, almost shy curve of his lips. "Not as beautiful as this moment," he whispered, stepping closer so that the snowstorm seemed to bend around them, the blizzard fading into the background. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, the quiet confidence, the steady heartbeat that somehow made the icy wind feel distant. She shivered again, though not from the cold. I don't even know your name," she admitted softly, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. "Names don't matter right now," he said, his eyes holding hers like a promise. "Only that you're safe." For a long moment, silence settled over them, broken only by the soft crackle of snow under their boots and the howl of the wind. She felt her fingers twitch around the snowflake pendant, unsure why it carried so much weight, perhaps because it symbolized more than a gift. It was a bridge, a first step towards something she had never expected on this lonely winter night. The blizzard swirled more fiercely, and he stepped closer, offering his gloved hand. "Come inside," he said softly. "It's safer by the fire." She hesitated, glancing toward the warm glow spilling from the cabin door. Then, with a small nod, she took his hand. The instant their fingers interlaced, she felt a warmth surge through her, a strange mix of comfort and anticipation. Every step toward the cabin seemed to echo with unspoken words, every glance exchanged carrying the weight of a story that was just beginning. Once inside, the contrast hit her immediately, the harsh cold of the blizzard replaced by the soft warmth of firelight. He set the crate down, brushing snow from his coat, and she found herself captivated by the way he moved, careful yet confident, every action purposeful, yet gentle enough to make her heart flutter. "You saved me from the cold," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "No," he corrected gently, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "We saved each other. That's how it works, isn't it?" She laughed, soft and genuine, a sound that seemed to blend with the crackle of the fire. And just like that, the initial awkwardness dissolved, replaced by a tender, thrilling intimacy. They stood together by the fire, unwrapping the remaining gifts. Each one revealed a small token, a piece of chocolate, a hand-knitted scarf, a candle, simple gestures that carried extraordinary meaning in the context of the storm outside and the quiet, vulnerable space they now shared. At one point, their hands brushed over a gift, lingering longer than necessary. She caught herself staring into his eyes, noticing the depth there, the strength, the gentle warmth that seemed to radiate from him even in the flickering firelight. Her cheeks flushed, and she felt a flutter in her chest she hadn't felt in years. This has been unexpected," she said, her voice trembling slightly, more from excitement than fear. He smiled, the kind of smile that hinted at shared secrets and possibilities yet unspoken. "The best things in life usually are," he replied softly, letting the words linger in the warm, snow-scented air of the cabin. By the time the blizzard outside quieted to a gentle flurry, she realized she hadn't felt this alive, this connected, in a long time. The gifts, the snow, the shared glances, it wasn't just about the tokens, it was about the beginning of a story that neither of them had anticipated. A story of trust, warmth, and perhaps something deeper, a spark that could turn into a lifetime. And as she looked at him, still holding the snowflake pendant close to her heart, she couldn't help but think, this Christmas, in the middle of a snowstorm, she had found more than gifts. She had found hope, warmth, and maybe, just maybe, love. The fire crackled, casting a golden glow across the small cabin, illuminating the swirling snow outside through frosted windows. She sank onto a wooden bench near the hearth, the baby pink coat she had worn outside now dusted with snow, clinging slightly to her shoulders. The warmth of the fire brushed against her cold skin, yet it was his presence that made her feel truly warm. He knelt beside her, setting the wooden crate down carefully, brushing off the last flakes of snow from his dark coat. His eyes met hers, intense yet soft, and for a moment, the blizzard outside seemed to vanish, leaving only the two of them suspended in a fragile, intimate world. "You're safe now," he said quietly, voice steady but tinged with concern. "I promised you'd be protected, didn't I?" She smiled, a hint of awe in her eyes. "Yes, but I didn't know it would feel like this," she whispered, glancing at him, noticing the tension in his shoulders, the careful way he observed every corner of the cabin, even in the moment of calm. He leaned back slightly, letting his gaze linger on her, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. This moment is mine as much as it's yours," he said softly. "I think we've earned it after the storm out there." Her fingers absent-mindedly traced the edge of the snowflake pendant, and she felt a flutter in her chest. "Earned it?" she asked, a playful lilt in her voice despite the lingering cold from outside. "Yes," he replied, leaning closer. "Moments like this, rare. They don't come twice. You hold them carefully, or they vanish like snow in the sun." A laugh escaped her, quiet and melodic, echoing softly against the timber walls. The sound seemed to settle something inside him, softening his rugged exterior. "You talk as if this is fate," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Maybe it is," he murmured, almost under his breath, a mischievous smile tugging at his lips. "Or maybe, it's the start of something worth remembering." She felt her heart skip again, this time not from surprise, but from the undeniable pull drawing her closer to him. The way he moved, the way he spoke, even the subtle warmth radiating from him, made the cabin feel like a sanctuary, a tiny haven against the cold world outside. He reached for another gift from the crate, handing it to her with careful hands. "Here," he said, "I thought you might like this next one." She untied the ribbon, revealing a hand-knitted scarf, soft and pink, perfectly matching her coat. She gasped softly. "It's beautiful," she murmured, draping it around her neck. The yarn was warm, but it was the thought behind it, the care in his choice, that touched her heart. He watched her closely, noting every small smile, every subtle gesture. "I wanted to make sure you were warm," he said, his voice low, intimate, almost a whisper. "Inside and out." Her breath caught. She wanted to tell him how much this meant, how the fear of the storm, the loneliness of her cabin, had melted away in his presence. But words failed her. Instead, she let her eyes speak, letting the firelight reflect the gratitude and something deeper, a fragile, thrilling trust she had not felt in years. A sudden gust of wind rattled the cabin door, reminding them both of the storm outside. He stepped closer instinctively, his hand brushing against hers as he checked the latch. The contact sent a spark through her chest, and she realized she was holding her breath. "Nothing will reach you here," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I won't let it." She looked up at him, eyes wide, heart fluttering. You risked so much," she said softly. "For me?" He gave a small, almost shy smile, the kind that revealed vulnerability beneath his rugged exterior. "I couldn't let you face that alone," he said. Not when it would mean leaving you behind." Her lips parted, and for a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words and possibilities. The warmth of the fire, the snow melting silently outside, the closeness of their bodies, everything felt electric, a fragile tension suspended in the quiet of the cabin. He leaned just slightly closer, enough for her to feel his breath, enough for her heartbeat to catch. "There's something I need to ask," he said, voice low, careful, intimate. "Something important, if you'll let me." Her pulse quickened. "What?" she whispered, her breath mingling with the faint warmth of the fire. He reached for her hand, holding it gently in both of his, eyes locked onto hers. "Will you trust me?" he asked softly. "Not just tonight, not just through the storm, but through everything. Will you take this journey with me?" Tears pricked her eyes, a mix of relief, joy, and something thrilling she couldn't name. She squeezed his hand gently, voice trembling yet certain. Yes, I will," she whispered. A slow, triumphant smile spread across his face, and for a moment, the world outside, the storm, the cold, the blizzard, faded completely. There was only the cabin, the fire, and the bond forming between them, a promise stronger than any winter wind could challenge. Hours passed, the snow outside quieting to a soft, gentle fall. They talked quietly, shared stories of past winters, laughter mingling with the crackle of the fire. And as the evening deepened into night, a sense of certainty settled over her, that this night, this storm, this stranger with gifts and warmth had changed everything. Somewhere in the quiet of the snow, a love story had begun, one that would grow beyond the storm, beyond the blizzard, beyond even the lonely frontier cabin. And she knew, with a deep, thrilling certainty, that the journey had only just begun. The snow outside had softened to a gentle flurry, each delicate flake settling on the cabin roof like a whisper of peace. Inside, the fire flickered, casting golden shadows across the walls. The tension of the storm, the chase, and the uncertainty of the night, all of it seemed to vanish now, leaving only the two of them, suspended in a fragile, intimate world. He reached into his coat pocket, a small velvet box appearing in his hand as if by magic. Her eyes widened, anticipation and a flutter of fear mingling in her chest. I wanted to wait until everything was calm," he began, voice steady but filled with emotion. "But some things can't wait. Not when it feels this right, not when I've spent so long wishing for this moment." She blinked, heart hammering. What is it?" she whispered, her voice trembling. He knelt in the snow-dusted cabin floor, taking her hands in his. The warmth of his touch contrasted sharply with the coolness still drifting in through the slightly open door. His dark eyes held hers, unwavering, honest, filled with a promise she hadn't known she needed. "I know this is sudden," he continued softly, "but I can't imagine another moment without you by my side. You trusted me through the storm, through fear, through uncertainty, and I've never been surer of anything in my life." Her chest swelled, a mix of joy, disbelief, and longing. She swallowed hard, unable to tear her eyes away from him. "Will you marry me?" he asked, opening the velvet box to reveal a delicate ring, glinting like a shard of frozen starlight. "Will you be mine, not just tonight, not just through winter storms, but for everything that comes after?" Tears welled in her eyes, snowflakes clinging to her lashes. The cabin seemed to hold its breath, the crackle of the fire and the whisper of falling snow the only witnesses. She nodded slowly, voice trembling but clear. Yes, I will," she whispered. He smiled triumphantly, sliding the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, and then, without a second thought, he pulled a small package from his coat, a simple, rustic frontier wedding band set he had brought with him. "Let's not waste another moment," he said softly, kneeling again, this time offering the bands. "Right here. Right now. The storm outside, the snow, it all feels like it brought us here. Let's make this night ours forever." Her heart leapt. You mean now?" she asked, almost breathless with excitement and disbelief. "Yes," he said, voice firm, eyes sparkling. "No delays. Just us. Just here. Just tonight." And so, in the small, snow-kissed cabin, with firelight dancing across the timber walls, they exchanged vows whispered over the roar of the softened blizzard. Her voice trembled as she repeated the promises, and his eyes glistened as he spoke his own. Their hands clasped, hearts beating in tandem, and when the final words were said, they sealed it with a gentle, lingering kiss. The world outside might still be harsh and unforgiving, but inside, they had found a haven in each other. The fire crackled, casting golden warmth across their joined hands, and she laughed softly, a sound full of relief, joy, and love. "I can't believe it, we're married," she whispered, leaning against him. "Believe it," he replied with a playful smile, brushing a stray strand of snow-dusted hair from her cheek. "We are. And we'll face everything together, from snowstorms to sunsets, from blizzards to every quiet morning in between." They sank onto the bench by the hearth, still holding hands, the fire warming them as snowflakes danced against the windowpanes. Her head rested on his shoulder, and she felt a shiver, not from cold, but from the thrill of being wrapped in his arms, in a love that had survived chaos, fear, and a frozen winter night. "You've given me a story I never imagined," she murmured, fingers tracing the pattern of his coat, noticing the faint warmth even through his gloves. "A winter I'll never forget, a night I'll never forget, and you." He pressed a gentle kiss to the top of her head, smiling softly. "And you've given me more than I ever hoped for," he whispered. "Hope, love, and now, a future I can't wait to live with you." Minutes passed in silence, comfortable and intimate, filled only with the crackle of the fire and the faint hum of the storm outside. Every glance, every touch, every heartbeat seemed to echo in the cozy cabin. And though the night was still young, the snow still falling, they knew this was the beginning, of life together, of adventures shared, and of love deeper than any winter storm. Finally, he leaned back, eyes glinting with mischief beneath the soft firelight. "So, my wife," he teased, "does this mean I finally get to call you my partner in every snowball fight, every winter chase, every adventure ahead?" She laughed, the sound clear and warm. "I suppose so, as long as you promise to survive every blizzard at my side," she replied, a playful sparkle in her eyes. "I promise," he said, drawing her closer. "Every storm, every snowflake, every adventure, with you." The snow outside settled into quiet, gentle layers, a hushed witness to the love and promise that had begun in the storm. Inside the cabin, they sat entwined, hearts racing, hands entwined, ready to face the world together. And as she gazed into his eyes, her cheeks flushed with warmth, she realized this winter night, this night of snow, firelight, whispered promises, and a daring marriage in a storm, was the start of everything she had secretly hoped for. No storm, no shadow, no danger could ever separate them now. Together, they had faced the blizzard, survived the night, and discovered a love that would blaze brighter than any fire, stronger than the harshest wind, and enduring as the snow outside. The storm had finally passed. The snow outside lay in soft, untouched layers, sparkling under the pale morning light. Inside the cabin, the fire had burned low, leaving a warm, cozy glow that wrapped around the newlyweds like a protective blanket. They were alone now, no danger, no chaos, just the quiet intimacy of two hearts finally together. She lay on the bed, her baby pink night dress slightly rumpled, her hair spilling over the pillow like a cascade of soft silk. He knelt beside her, brushing a stray strand from her cheek, his fingers lingering, savoring the touch. "You look incredible," he whispered, voice low and husky, eyes dark with desire and tenderness. "Every moment with you feels alive." Her cheeks flushed as she smiled softly, fingers tracing the line of his jaw. I can't believe we're finally here. Just us, she murmured, the words almost lost in the crackle of the fire. He leaned closer, lips brushing hers in a gentle, lingering kiss that spoke of passion, trust, and a love that had survived blizzards, fear, and danger. The world outside no longer existed, it was just them, hearts beating in tandem, warmth against the chill of the snow still lingering on the cabin walls. Hours passed in soft laughter, whispered promises, and tender touches. They shared the quiet joy of newlywed intimacy, exploring the depth of their bond in the glow of firelight. Every glance, every caress, was a testament to the love they had discovered amidst the storm, a love now unbreakable. He traced the curve of her shoulder, then down her arm, hands lingering with care and reverence. "I've dreamed of this," he murmured, "of us, every winter, every snowstorm, every quiet morning. And now it's real." She shivered slightly, not from the cold, but from the thrill of being held, cherished, adored. "I feel the same," she whispered, leaning into him, letting his warmth envelop her completely. "It's perfect." The night stretched into early morning, the fire casting shadows that danced across the walls like silent witnesses to their union. They laughed softly, whispered secrets, and shared stolen kisses that grew deeper, more intimate, more alive with every passing moment. As dawn broke, the snow outside glittered like diamonds, and she nestled against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart, the rise and fall of his chest, the quiet certainty that no storm, no shadow, could ever separate them. "Promise me something," she murmured, fingers entwined with his. "That whatever comes, we'll face it together. Always." He held her closer, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "Always," he whispered, the word a vow, a shield, and a promise. "No matter the storms, the snow, or the unknown, we face it together." Days passed in a blur of quiet domestic bliss, snow-covered walks through the glistening landscape, and stolen moments in the cozy cabin. The world beyond the trees might still be harsh and unforgiving, but inside their cabin, every laugh, every kiss, every touch solidified the life they were building together. One evening, as the first delicate hints of spring began to touch the snow-laden landscape outside, she felt a flutter deep within her stomach, a tiny, almost imperceptible heartbeat that wasn't her own. Her breath caught, and she froze mid-step, her eyes widening as her fingers instinctively pressed over the small swell. The warmth from the fire at her back contrasted sharply with the sudden chill of awe and disbelief running through her veins. He noticed immediately, concern etching across his rugged features. He knelt beside her, brushing a stray lock of her red hair gently from her face, his thumb tracing a soft, protective line across her cheek. "What is it?" he asked, his voice low and steady, yet laced with unmistakable worry. The flickering firelight cast golden highlights across his strong features. Her gaze met his, wide and shimmering, a mix of wonder, disbelief, and joy lighting her pale, freckled skin. The words she barely dared to speak trembled on her lips. I think, we're expecting," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the crackle of the fire. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The world outside, the snow, the lingering remnants of winter, the gentle flurry that clung to the cabin windows, faded into a blur, leaving only the two of them suspended in a fragile bubble of intimacy and awe. Then, a slow, stunned smile spread across his face, the kind that began in his eyes and slowly curled across his lips, reaching every corner of his expression. He pulled her into his arms, cradling her gently as if holding her close could shield her from all the uncertainties of the world. His chest rose and fell steadily beneath her forehead, each heartbeat syncing with her own, filling the small cabin with a sense of peace and protection. "We're really going to have a family," he murmured, voice thick with disbelief and awe, laughter mingling with the beginnings of tears. "After everything we've endured, this is real. This is ours." She pressed her face into his chest, inhaling the warmth and faint scent of pine and cedar from the cabin, her heart racing with pure, unfiltered joy. "Yes, ours," she whispered, the words trembling with both exhilaration and reverence. The fire flickered and popped, casting golden light across their entwined forms. Shadows danced across the wooden walls and soft rugs, painting the cabin in hues of warmth and security. Outside, the snow sparkled like a promise under the pale light of the fading day, each flake a tiny echo of the magic and wonder that now filled their hearts. For a long while, they simply sat there, breathing in unison, hands entwined, smiles breaking across their faces in silent celebration. The simple act of holding each other became a vow, a shared promise that whatever storms might come, whatever harsh winters awaited beyond the cabin walls, they would face them together. The world outside could rage in blizzards, winds, and snow, but inside, they had found a sanctuary of warmth, love, and hope. He brushed his lips against the top of her head, whispering softly, "No matter what comes, we'll face it together. Always." She nodded, closing her eyes, savoring the steady beat of his heart against her cheek. "Always," she echoed, her voice filled with certainty and devotion. The fire crackled, the golden glow illuminating their joyous faces, casting a halo of light around the start of this new chapter. In that small cabin, amidst the remnants of the storm that had first brought them together, the newlyweds discovered not only the love they had nurtured in secrecy and urgency but also the promise of life, of family, and of a shared future brimming with hope. And as they held each other, hearts beating as one, fingers intertwined, and laughter mingling with quiet whispers, they knew this truth: storms would come, winters would rage, but together, nothing, no wind, no snow, no shadow, could ever break them. A new chapter had begun, written in warmth, love, family, and the endless, magical promise of a life built together in the heart of winter.